You ever want to find out how people get around in the 41st millennium? Well, this is the video for you. And don't forget, you owe me gas money. For most of my videos talking about the great sci-fi universe of Warhammer 40k, I have talked surprisingly little about transportation, and especially ship combat. That's right, I wasn't talking about the amazing dogfights that would happen in the air, even though a sci-fi universe that has battles like Star Wars isn't very realistic. Because even franchises like Star Wars have amazing breathtaking dogfighting scenes, that's just not how space warfare would work. If we ever got to that point, it'd probably be people shooting each other across the galaxy with laser beams. But there is so much ship fighting in 40k that they made a whole board game off of it and multiple computer games about it that are all called Battlefleet Gothic. So let's see what some of the battleships of the factions of the 44th Millennium have to show. Oh yeah, this is also a video request by Fluffy Manpig. If you guys want me to do a video, you could just shoot down a comment and ask me. Yeah, that would work. The Imperium Man uses warships of various shapes and sizes that kind of all have the same design philosophy. All of them were made during the Great Crusade. These battleships can be Goliath class to even the coveted Emperor class battleship, in which all of them are irreplaceable and not be able to be reconstructed. Humanity lost so much information since the Emperor died and even more before that. But yeah, each one is irreplaceable and each one of them cannot be remade, with there being a limited amount of ships now. How many ships? I don't know. Codex Astartes compliant Space Marine chapters use barges mostly, with each of them using 3 of these barges among all of their troops. These barges are used as drop bays for drop pods and troop transports and are akin to aircraft carriers in real life, except these ones have shields on them and can fly in space. Space Marine chapters can sometimes be nomadic and completely operate out of their ships, like with the Black Templars. The Black Templars do use a lot of battle barges and just go around the galaxy killing stuff. Well, not exactly, but you know. A lot of the Imperial Fists and their successors are usually nomadic in nature. One of the most well-known ships in the Imperium is actually a floating fortress monastery called the Phalanx. Imperial Fist chapter owns this and uses this as their base of operation that is akin to a floating hive city with guns and armor everywhere. Phalanx is shiny and glowing, that shines like a star, being symbolic of the Emperor's light during the Great Crusade. And that pretty giant space church acts as the homeworld for the Imperial Fist chapters, with it showing up during the fall of Cadia and roaming around during the Indominus Crusade. And it looks really cool in the Battlefleet Gothic game. I mean, just look at this. Oh my goodness gracious, look at it. Oh, it's so beautiful. The Mechanicus, although connected to the Imperium, are independent and use the Arc Mechanicus. These ships are a bit more tactfully capable than most Imperial battleships with their range and firepower. These ships are rarely seen, as the Adeptus Mechanicus are a bunch of introverts that only want to do stuff that has to do with the great quest for knowledge. These are also ancient artifacts that come from the Great Crusade and follow a standard Mechanicus template, but they are much scarier than the normal Imperial fleet. To move around fastly, Geller fields are needed, because mainly they rip a hole into real space and is open into the warp, which makes travel way faster, but it's like going through the perfume aisle in SpongeBob. Except, instead of perfume, it's demons that are trying to kill you. When the Geller field is down, something like this can happen. Excuse me, Commissar. What, Godswin? Can't you tell I'm busy? I'll have you shot for insubordination. Oh, well, the Geller field is down, and we're gonna die. You see this cute puppy I found, by the way? I think he's a stray. Quite a bit stinky. And if it wasn't bad enough, the refueling sequence for Imperial ships has gotten deadlier. Basically, it's like refueling a car while it's still running, but only one person needs to die because they get atomized when the fuel starts working. You'd get straight up obliterated because you're doing a Space Marine solid. Kinda funny. Legions of Chaos for the most part aren't that interesting because they are just Imperial ships that have turned traitors. Their Dark Gods do have some hella pimped out rides though. One of which is the Blackstone Fortress. This was made by a bunch of ancient ones. The most infamous one was taken by Abaddon and his Black Crusades, with it being called the Will of Eternity. And this bad boy had the best guns and best defense, with it channeling energy straight from the warp. It also proved as a planet breaker when it was thrown into the fortress world of Cadia, irreparably destroying both of them. The Death Guard also have a straight up sick ship named the Terminus Est. This bad boy got heavily corrupted by chaos, and the god of plagues made it increasingly fleshy and disgusting in the 10,000 years since the Horus Heresy. The flesh coating the ship inside and out is described as slick and kinda slippery. Thank goodness you can't sue in a court of law in the realms of chaos, or Typhus would be out of money. Bones and pus crowd the inside and outside, and stop all but the crew of the Plague Marines that are in there from coming in. I guess in the Death Guard, it's either you're stinky or nothing. Xenos race of the Eldar have spaceships that are built just like them, with them being date and delicate but highly maneuverable, which sounds great until Space Marines decides to headbutt it and the entire ship breaks like glass. Most Eldari ships just straight up look like shale ships with an added seashell on the front. These ships are also called various mythological creatures, including dragons, phoenixes, wraiths, vampires, and even eagles? I mean, weird, kinda goes against the naming convention, but I guess. One of the most well-known dragon ships is the Flame of Asuryan, which is named after the actual Sacred Flame. Cool big defining feature of this cool ship is instead of having one sailing doohickey on it, it has 3 total sailing doohickeys. It also has a launch bay big enough to let out some Nightwing fighters and some Phoenix bombers, with its most recent fights in its lore being against the Tyranid High Fleet Kraken. The Webway is used by the Eldar to navigate the universe, and the Webway is awesome. It's basically like traveling through the warp, but better, because it doesn't have to use a Geller field, because there's no demons to kill you or break in. It's awesome. One of the Imperium's Primarchs is actually stuck in the Webway, chasing some Eldari. I wonder how he's doing. The Emperor also pretty much wanted to make his own version of the Webway using the Golden Throne, but nothing can go right ever, and Magnus did nothing wrong and messed it all up. Humanity sure is funny in the 41st millennium. The Drakari have the same types of ship as Eldar, but instead the Drakari sneak up on their adversaries instead of flying circles around them. The Drakari really like boarding enemy ships like they're pirates and taking them down from the inside, and these ships are also straight up edgier, and I mean that both in shape and mood, than the Eldari ships. For example, the most used variations of cruisers are called a Torture class cruiser. How do you think the meeting went when they had to name everything? Probably said, let's just make it based off of the bad stuff we already do. Well, you do know that old MF Doom line. Rap snitches, telling all their business, sit in the court and be their own star witness. The Necrons are messed up. Not because their ships are ethically wrong or anything like that. Their ships just have absurd amounts of firepower and can move very fast. These ships are also made out of living metal. It's like sitting in a space cruiser made of human flesh for us, which is okay for other races, but I thought that Necrons would have some more class. The only way to hopefully destroy these ships is to have at least 5 or 10 ships for every one Necron ship. These ships are basically cheating, and that's why I love them. So you know how I kinda made fun of Necrons for having skin ships? Tyranids do the exact same thing, but instead it's one giant living creature. Yeah, that's right, they just straight up turned a living creature into a spacecraft. But they effectively work like any other ship. I mean, they have things that act like guns that other Tyranids have. Also, some Krakens look really weird. I mean, look at it. Yeah, that looks like it came out of the Cambrian explosion. Straight up pre-Jurassic. I hate these things. And I hate how no amount of bug spray would ever kill these guys. There is also an unknown number of them, due to them invading from the outer reaches of the Milky Way galaxy and slowly seeping in. Ugh. No, I would not like to fight a Tyranid, no sir. The Tau have only recently started being a face-faring race in the last 1,000 years. These newbies have ships that are close to the level of Imperial ships, but they can be mass-produced. The Tau had to learn and adapt fast due to an orc wall and another civilization fighting them. They created these ships with shielding, and although they can't go into warp, they can go into a pocket dimension between dimensions in small dives. The engines they use are giant though, and only larger ships can use them to take these dives, so they kinda suck, but you know, they're the Tau. They're working on it. The orcs have the funniest type of space navy, mostly because of the orc power of belief, allowing anything with enough scrap and hope to start flying. These things are made by the orcs and constructed reasonably fast. The issue is that these are piles of scrap that can be made as easily as they can be broken apart. And if one orc ship is lucky enough, an orc spacecraft made last Tuesday can destroy an irreplaceable ship that can no longer be made due to the continual decline of the human condition in 40k. Yeah, the orcs are very funny. Orc ship crews are known to get into various hijinks when they are on spacefaring adventures. For example, there were a group of orcs that were working on repairs on their ship outside without a suit. Soon enough, a group of other orcs came by in spacesuits and notified them that they would die in the vacuum of space because they can't breathe. The orcs without spacesuits on then looked in horror as they died horribly, like they were in Total Recall. The orcs in the spacesuits got a new ship though, so that's a bit of a dub, I suppose. And that's most of the races in the Warhammer 40k universe and some of their spacefaring navies. What's your favorite type of navy? Make sure to tell me in the comments down below. Also, tell me what ship you'd like to see the most. I love the orcs too much for them not to be my favorite. The way that they use scrap to make ships that barely work is so lovable. Till next video, fellas.